welcome to Dev Radio. We are here with our Microsoft Azure developer influencer, Mehul Bhuva, and Charles Maxon, my colleague who runs the program. Charles, why don't you go ahead and start off by telling us about the Microsoft Azure developer influencers and why we're here.
Absolutely. So first of all, Matt, thanks for adding me to the call. I'm super excited to be here. As you mentioned, the Microsoft Azure Developer Influencer Program is an opportunity for us to not just recognize, but also work closely and support folks inside the organization that are developers that spend a lot of time either teaching or mentoring or frankly influencing decisions made around Microsoft Azure as a development stack. And so it's a great way not just to work close with these folks, but also help enable them to build better solutions and also share their knowledge throughout the organization. And so this is great timing because Mehul is actually one of our latest brand new Maddies.
Yeah, Mehul. So first of all, thank you for sharing with the community. This is what it's all about. We'll all be better if we tell each other what works. I'll go ahead and pull up your slides, and why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and about Corteva.
Sure. So hi, this is Mehul Bhuva. I have 22 years of software development experience, right from BBASP all the way to Blazor, which is our most recent framework, and on AI Foundry and Databricks, ADF, Fabric, etc. At Corteva, I am primarily focused on setting up their lakehouse, working on AI BI dashboards, but also working on Azure AI Foundry as my primary platform for developing Gen AI apps.
Cool. So why don't you start with actually, Charles, you've got the first question. You want to keep it in order?
I actually have a couple of questions. First of all, I'd love to know a little bit more about Corteva. I mean, you mentioned on your slide it's an agri-science company, but what do you folks do? And maybe a great segue to tie into that, what are some of the problems you're looking to solve with this Sprout AI assistance that the company really is looking forward to?
Yeah, so your first question, what does Corteva do? Corteva is an agri-science company. We produce seeds, and we are one of the largest seed production companies in the world. We produce genetically tested and modified seeds. These seeds are resistant to many types of weeds and insects. And the goal is to produce high quality seeds and distribute it to the rest of the world. Corteva is a global company, and we deal with a lot of issues related to supply chain, manufacturing of the seeds, laboratory quality testing, genetic testing of the seeds. There's a lot of emphasis on research. So it's a pretty comprehensive company right now we have both seeds and crop protection. There are certain challenges currently that we see with such a large company. Employee health and safety is one of the challenges at plant operation sites. Access to several documents which are very critical for a day-to-day operations from a plant operator perspective, or plant supervisors. They need access to these documents, which are mostly unstructured data, right? They are SOPs or handbooks or safety procedures and mailing procedures, sampling procedures, etc. Now, these are unstructured and scattered across everywhere in SharePoint sites and OneDrive locations, sometimes on a local desktop at a plant operator's site's computer. The challenge is to unify all the data, all the unstructured data, and make it work for the people who use it. Right now, employees have to go and find the information by clicking multiple links or in SharePoint, let's say, or going to different sites, bookmarking their pages, etc. Access to the information is the biggest problem. Sharing information is the biggest problem right now. So the seed of Savant was one step in that direction to unify the data, have a common platform where people can go and ask questions to their own data, and not have to go around 100 pages of documents and search through all those documents and find out, hey, this is what I need. I need to go and find out a beekeeper note, or I need to go and find out information on how do I operate at this plant and at this facility. How do I sort, or how do I dry? Let's say dryer bins is a big part of our work. How do I dry my seeds? What are the quality controls that I need to I need to enforce on my processes that I'm doing right now. So it's more real time, and getting access to the information that you need at your fingertips. That those have been real game changers for us, solving those kind of problems. Charles, that's
That's an awesome description. And given that background, I love the name of the project. Sprout is just perfect.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, the name Sprout was coined by our leader Jeff, who has been instrumental in this overall effort, right? So he was a pioneer and champion, along with Damon, the other leader that I work with at Corteva, and both of them have been instrumental in this journey to guide me through and support me.
Do you want to tell us a little bit, like walk us through the chatbot experience now, or what?
Sure.
Would you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's Charles and I in a call like less than an hour ago. We're talking about how, this is a common scenario. Lots of people need these, RAG solutions that go into like lots of documents and stuff, and so lots of people have something to learn here, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yep. This is actually a very common scenario. You're right. Every small, big, medium-sized company has data. There's data floating everywhere, whether it's structured data or unstructured data. But several times the means to access the data is very cumbersome or tiring, right? We started this. So basically, let me take you through the slides now. Probably it's the right segue. So what was the business need of Sprout, right? So we got contacted by some teams from Europe saying that we have this 150-page wiki document, and we are having a hard time having our plant operators and marketing folks, our end users, go and open up these documents and read through the pages and pages of document and apply that information in their day-to-day activities, right? So applying the knowledge and help motivating them to go and read the documents was a challenge. So the primary concern was, hey, there is a lot of email chains going back and forth, where these people are, where these plant operators and marketing and supply chain analysts are not reading through information and asking us the same questions over and over and over again, and our job is to just respond to those emails. Now imagine you have hundreds of plant operators and 50, 60 different marketing agents. Now sending them emails over and over is a time-consuming process, and it takes up a lot of your time, especially if they are the same kind of emails. So Sprout, the idea of Sprout began there when one of our stakeholders reached out for this scenario. And I'm like, yeah, we can apply this to multiple places, not just for knowledge assistance, but also for training, onboarding someone, right? Finding information or generating charts and graphs, for example. Creating a strategic advisor, for example, right? So there are so many scenarios that can follow a RAG based approach of working on the Foundry. We are doing several other pilots currently as we speak, and the idea was born with a single need or a use case, but then gradually we felt that we should not create a web application or a tool or just for one purpose, but we should create a framework out of this so that it can support multiple use cases, right? So in this case, we have supply chain and plant operations and out licensing, right? These are three domains that we targeted, which are critical for seeds business that Corteva is a part of. As I said, intelligent access to logistics, inventory, supplier data, and acting as a true knowledge savant or a knowledge assistant was our primary need. Very instant information retrieval, so that these people don't have to go through hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents and find their content. They can only find out or ask relevant questions and get meaningful responses back. Training and onboarding was another scenario I spoke for. There was a guy in the company who was who was here for 25 years and he was leaving. He had just 15 days notice. And the new guy was coming from a different area, had no idea about out licensing. So to onboard and train him would have been very difficult without Sprout, because all the documents that we have captured in that, all those 25 years of experience was captured in those 50, 60 pages of, 50, 60 different kinds of documents. We gave it to Sprout, and then had the new resource train himself and ask questions. In fact, the trainer had the person who was training him gave him a bunch of questions that he could ask Sprout, and then he used to ask those questions and verify the responses back with the trainer, to basically, so there's a human in loop always to verify the accuracy and constant feedback. So we had to design and engineer the prompt engineering templates accordingly. But yeah, I mean, those were some of the scenarios. We have more extremely hard, different kinds of scenarios now, like chart generation is another example. Strategic advisor, like if I want to go and study my competition and their documents and the way they create contracts, right? That's a great use case for Sprout, because Sprout can look at those documents, the contract documents, how we are formulating it. It can go and do some market research as well through agentic AI, and then come back with a strategy saying that, hey, yeah, this is the way you have been doing things in the past with your contracts, but this is the way market is doing things now, or other competitors in the market are doing things. So this is what I recommend: a blended strategy, or a pure, a mixed strategy, etc. So those are the
That's
kind of
cool.
things.
That's like way more than just a chatbot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's more than a RAG, I would say, Matthew. It's more like an agentic AI, where you still have the fundamental knowledge base or grounding data from your company, but you also go out and seek new information from the marketplace, or from from an external API, or from some documents that are sitting somewhere externally, which you can access, and study your competitor behavior, and then come back with more responses that way. So that's another area we are experimenting currently. There is another area that we are doing with Sprout, is a project cost estimator, where we're trying to look at all our past projects that we have accomplished and their costs. And then we are trying to ask Sprout on, hey, if I have a similar project that I've accomplished in the past, with so and so parameters, with XYZ parameters, what would be my expected cost and budget that I need to account for? So these are all, again, a very everyday kind of situations that we use Excel and other tools for. But it's enlightening to see that how we can use AI to do all these to handle all these things in a newer and different fashion.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
moving on to the next slide, do you want me to go through all these slides one by one, or do you have any questions for me?
I'd like to throw a question out before we get started. Obviously, you mentioned you had top-down approval, which is awesome. It makes it easier to get things done. But can you talk a little bit about the time and the scope of what it, as far as like the team and the iterations and the build on it? What was kind of the life cycle of getting this launched?
Yeah, great question again. So when we started, now this is going to sound weird, because when we started, there was no single common instance of Azure AI Foundry at Corteva, and we were the first team to basically venture out and try to experiment and play out on Azure AI Foundry. Now, I had some scratch stuff that I'd done on AI Foundry in my local version of Azure, which I showed to my manager, Damon, and he immediately liked it. I'm like, yeah, this is great. We tried Copilot at the time, and it was not working the way we were expecting. This was like last year, sometime in March or April. Copilot was not 100% evolved at the time, but now it's very powerful. But so going back, so it took us at least 2 or 3 months to stage up the Azure AI Foundry, with all the hassles that we had to set it up, the infrastructure, the permissions, and the tickets that we had to raise, because it's a different process. It's not everything that we deploy here is infrastructure as a code, and it's not pretty. It's not so easy to deploy everything as an infrastructure. We go through a lot of hoops and hurdles with doing that. So that took the maximum time, honestly. But development wise, we got a Microsoft accelerator. I think Bob O'Keefe was the one I should give credit to, who helped us get an accelerator to get started on the Foundry and the custom chatbot web front end. There was another developer in the team Russ Scott, who from Microsoft, who helped create that accelerator, which I then heavily customized
And
for my
the
partner.
accelerators, they're a GitHub repo with a sort of a starting solution for you that you can just build
Yes.
on and go with.
Yes. Yeah. So I was talking about resources. Yes. So Bob from Microsoft helped us out. Russ Scott's from Microsoft gave us that accelerator. It's already on GitHub. It's not a smart flow UI. And I had to customize it heavily for branding. And also there were a lot of things that I had to add into it to make it more Corteva acceptable and production ready. But I mean, overall, the development time to your question was around 1.5 months with
Oh,
the
wow.
accelerator saving us a lot of time for sure, but also a lot of time, like a month's time in testing, validating with the stakeholders, getting their feedback. By the time, so we started with one use case in our dev environment, and then by the time we were production ready, we had 5 profiles created. So we had 5 use cases already, and customers, just by looking at their dev environment, they were like, oh wow, we also need this. And we were always showcasing it to a larger audience each time. We had our internal Be Curious week where at least 1,000 people joined and
Wow.
we gave a small demo of Sprout, and they all loved it, and we got multiple requests. And that's how these profiles keep adding up, right? Because this is, as you said, is the common use case uh, that can be automated using AI.
So you mentioned the human in the loop element, which I thought was great before. So as you iterated these out, and obviously people got excited about what you were showing, you involved more and more people from the business. I mean, it sounds like you didn't have a problem getting interest. Did they actually help refine the project for you? Did you find it was
Absolutely.
super helpful? Yeah.
So yeah, that was the highlight, because business. So we the way we operated this, the whole project was, okay, um, you need to own your data, and we will provision your profile for you. So business stakeholders were responsible for their data, validating their data, helping us create those prompt engineering templates, because specific profile, so we call it profile in Sprouts. Use cases are nothing but profile. So we have let's say, for example, a seeds advisor, we have a out licensing advisor, we have a plant advisor. So we have created these different kinds of advisors, which I'll go through in a bit. And they're all controlled by intra groups. And these business users own those specific profiles and the data associated with it. So the onus of maintaining the data, keeping the data up to date, is on the stakeholders, not on the IT or not on our side. So that was a clear separation of concerns. We would definitely help them provision security and make changes to the app and help them refine the prompt engineering templates. But that human in the loop was helpful, because they would also help us test and validate in their playground, when they would give us a prompt and, hey, this prompt is not working the way I'm supposed to. This is the question I have asked, and this is the response I'm getting. This is not the right response. So can you go and see what's going on? Right. So we had to, and there were some hallucinations that we had to deal with initially. But as the model, so we started with GPT 4.0, then we graduated to 4.1, 4.5, and then eventually, right now, we are at 5.2 chatbot. So those kind of incremental changes and incremental feedback from the business or the stakeholders definitely refined and enhanced the value of the chatbot over a period of time. It took us several iterations to get there, but I think finally we are at a place right now where it is enterprise grade content that the LLM is able to generate.
Architecture. I love architecture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk us through this.
I can go through this real quick,
Yeah.
Matthew, if you want. Yeah, so the architecture is a Microsoft reference architecture that we are following.
Mhm.
So if you see on the left, there's the Sprout AI chat. This is the website the web application that users can hit. Now, this is only accessible within Corteva. There is WAF, and there is App Gateway, and there's VNet integration. If you see, we also using Easy Auth for authenticating users, which is SSO enabled. There is managed identities. The web app has a managed identity. Each and every service is connected via managed identities. Like we are leveraging. So the front end is the Blazor, Microsoft Blazor for technology, and then we use Azure AI Search for all our vector indexing. there is built-in capabilities out of the box on it for it, with Azure, and then it works seamlessly with Azure AI Foundry as a connected project. We use Azure Blob containers where these stakeholders go and maintain their own blobs which they have access to. We also use Cosmos DB to store the chat history. We have chat collection items where individual chat history gets recorded, so the question and answers that I've asked are not lost, and they're still there. We also use
And-
this chat history for analytics through a Power BI semantic model report. So
And
it's
that, actually, that
it's all
sounds like a
integrated.
great use case for Cosmos DB. Is that why?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That just real quick in and out. So yeah, nice.
Absolutely. It's a great use case. Cosmos DB is fantastic. It's pretty fast. It's a big database, and it's like MongoDB, but I think it's more powerful. The response time is great. It's pretty fast. We have had no issues with it performance wise. And then if you see all this hooks back together to AI Foundry being our playground for testing, validating stuff. And then the GPT 5.2 chat and the text embedding large model that we are using. Currently, we are also vectorizing images, by the way, and we are also playing around with agents. There is one agentic profile which basically goes and generates charts and graphs based on an Excel sheet that we have provided to it.
What are you doing for like ongoing observability? I mean, you mentioned some hallucinations early on. Are you just mostly depending on people to tell you like, hey, it's not working right, I need to, how are you like making sure you need to update the models, making sure it's accurate? And
So for ongoing observability and accuracy, as I said, we monitor so there's a feedback button. And that's embedded in the user interface. There's a like, dislike button, thumbs up, thumbs down button. I think you can see this in the screenshot, right here. So if the response is not accurate, we encourage our users to send us the feedback via the thumbs down. So the moment we get a thumbs down, and we have Power BI reports and analytics enabled on the Cosmos DB, we know exactly when there is a negative. And then in fact, the other good part is the stakeholders are also responsible for that part, where they are also monitoring along with managing data. They're also monitoring the usage, and they're also championing the usage for their own individual user bases. Right. So we have a team of, where there are 700 plant operators, and they are actively collecting user feedback through the Power BI report. And then we have sync up calls with them and ask them on what are these users asking and whether they are loving the response, hating the response, what's the feedback generally. So that like or dislike button comes up with a comment box, and where users can type in if the response was satisfactory or not satisfactory. Plus, we also have some logging on the back end where we go and monitor those responses back to do a proofread, to proof check it, and things like that.
nice.
So I have a question for you about, you mentioned obviously, stakeholders are sharing it. When you rolled this out, obviously company wide, did you have a formal plan on doing that, or was it word of mouth, or did you depend upon the business to share amongst the business? What was your way of getting it out there and really driving the adoption of it?
Yeah, great question again. So we had basically we went through our stakeholders. Our stakeholders have skin in the game, and we gave them a lot of responsibility of marketing Sprout or demoing Sprout. So they had local demo sessions within their teams, and that's how we started to basically promote Sprout in the company through these stakeholders. Some of these stakeholders had apps, front-facing apps. We started provisioning links for Sprouts on these apps so that users can go and click on the link and experiment. Eventually, we also did a beta rollout. The beta rollout, there was a company-wide communication that our communications team sent out saying this Sprout chatbot is out, and it's in beta, and why don't you guys go and give it a shot and test it out. It was for 2 months it was in beta, I think November, December, and I think in January as well. In February we launched it like full scale to production mode. So that's how we launched it, but it was more organic. And as I said, we were presenting it all the time. We were talking about it in all our meetings, and there were company town halls and things like that. This was more organically noticed, I would say, versus we actively pushing it and marketing it. The Be Curious Week was a big win where we were able to showcase this as our product and get a lot of good feedback from this. But the stakeholders were the ones who were driving interest and adoption, right? So we wanted there, because ultimately, if the users are not going to use it, then what's the point of developing it? So, and we are also actively trying to increase adoption. Several other ways we are thinking is because this is an external link. People have to click on the link, it'll open up a web application. I'm trying to think of other ideas where it can be natively integrated to their own apps, like a small chatbot or a small widget or a small iframe or a Teams chat, or so we can still use Sprout in different ways, not just through one interface, but multiple different kinds of interface. That's how we are going to increase adoption going forward, when we embed it into the apps that the end users actually use.
Yeah. Do you have more slides? What?
Yeah, I can go through. So these are examples of user interface. Couple of different user interface examples here. So on the left, the first one is, if you see that when people land onto Sprout, you see those profiles. It's like a drop down. Now you have access only if you belong to a specific Entra group. These are all controlled by Entra groups. If you don't belong to that Entra group, you won't be able to see that profile. So it's all security, it's all controlled access control that way. We have some default questions on the top that users get a feel of what we can ask per profile. And these questions change based on the profile you select. We have chat history for all the chats you've done in the past. So you can go back and revisit your chat history instead of doing another prompt. That, again, as I said, this chat history also helps us largely for analytics and for stakeholders to understand who's asking what. The other figure that you see the charts in, that's our chart agent. That's a chart generation agent where we have a critical Excel sheet with all the metrics, and users don't have to go to Excel and generate those metrics. They can ask questions. Hey, what are the key metrics in this Excel? And the Excel they upload the Excel every couple of months. They can directly generate charts and graphs or derive meaningful insights from the Excel that way. That's right. Nice. And there's also like dislike button. If you see, it can take you to the next. So key features and innovations, again, all the data is user controlled or stakeholder controlled. It is profile based access, which means that it's all controlled by Entra groups. If you belong to Entra group that has access to the profile, only then you would see the profile. So there are certain profiles which are secured. You don't want the rest of the company to see it. Then we basically lock it down to a specific set of users. Enterprise grade security with Easy Auth and Microsoft Entra ID with SSO. We have every profile has its own prompt engineering template. So it's highly configurable. And we can basically create a new profile in half a day, right? We don't have to rewrite the code. We just have to write the configurations for that, right? There is a JSON file and then there's some manual steps to upload the data to the blob container and things like that, and set up the security. But apart from that, we don't have to rewrite anything, or we don't even have to write a single line of code. We're going to onboard another profile next week, and the time it takes to onboard the profile is half a day at max, 4 hours. Yeah, awesome. It's super fast. Citations, every prompt. So basically this was the biggest thing, right? How do you ensure trust from the end user? Because the end user wants trustworthy response or trustworthy data. So we decided from day one that any response that Chatbot is giving should tie back to the original source, which is the document, the page number, right? Citations are very important so that there is high trust and confidence. And then that's another, so to one of the previous questions, this is how we monitor that. So a lot of users report back, hey, this document, you cited a document that doesn't exist, or that page number is wrong. That is a good, human in the loop kind of feedback. Hey, okay, I have to go and correct something, or the chatbot is not working as expected. This is what we saw initially when we were developing this product, this application. where there were hallucinations, wrong citations. So we try to optimize it through prompt engineering and also some code-based changes. This has been the strongest because customers love this, being able to download directly, and it comes back with the page number. So if it's a PPTX page number 50 and you are referencing some, you're asking a question, it comes back with that page number. And then when you download the PPTX, you can just see that page number directly. Or there is also an inbuilt browser-based PDF viewer for PDFs only, that you can just directly go and look at your PDF without even downloading it. So this gives you high trust and high confidence. Users, if they have higher confidence, they will reuse your application or reuse the chatbot more and more, because it's accurate and it does the job. They don't have to go through the documents that way, but it still gives you a reference point back. Multilingual support. Now all the large language models are multilingual. This was one of the for very first feedback we received. There was a stakeholder in Brazil, and he was asking questions to the chatbot in his native language. The documents, the grounding data was in English, but the chatbot was able to talk to him in his own language, right? So which was great, because that was the use case that we were trying, that these people had to go, or the people in Brazil or other parts of the world who speak Spanish and other languages had to go and translate that data manually through Google Translate or some other tools from English to their language and understand the content. But with the chatbot, they can just ask the question in their own language, despite the fact the documents are in English. The chatbot is multilingual, so it responds back to them in their own language without any need of manual translation. So that was an immediate win, especially for our LATAM and European stakeholders.
Seems like it would improve accuracy of translation as well too, because if you're not having to jump out to another service and it's all in there, that's a nice,
absolutely,
nice approach.
Yep, it did. So from going from 4.0 mini to 5.2, the accuracy of translations have been phenomenal. Accuracy of responses have been great, right? Citations have been great. So as the model keeps improving, the LLM behind it, we get these new features, out of the box, right? Multilingual support has been the key factor, especially for people outside North America, or stakeholders outside North America. They have been very influenced by this. Visual insight, as I said, we are able to generate charts and graphs, which is a great win, because there are so many day-to-day mundane tasks that we are doing through Excel that can all be automated now. Usage analytics and chat history, as I mentioned, we have Cosmos DB and we have a Power BI semantic model. We just hooked up the Cosmos DB to Power BI and created some great analytics for our stakeholders. They can also go and create their own reports using that semantic model data set, right? And then the semantic model is an import. We have two types of semantic model. One is a direct query and import. Import has a little bit more features because we could do more with it, but direct query is pretty easy. They can just go and write reports on that semantic model. So that has been great. Those have been our key highlights. Building the future, we have a vision, as I said, to integrate multiple systems like SharePoint, Azure SQL. I recently found out that the new version of Foundry also connects to a Databricks Genie space. If you know about Databricks Genie space, that's their AI BI Genie space, like AI BI structured way of basically connecting to their tables, backend Delta tables. So it's a space which is powered by LLM, and that looks at your structured data. So imagine now if we have enterprise version of Sprout for unstructured data and the Lakehouse version of Sprout, the Databricks Lakehouse version of Sprout for structured data, we can combine both these two through Azure AI Foundry, because it has a built-in tool or a connector to connect to that Genie space, which can look at the structured data sitting in the Lakehouse, and I can still be able to use it on Sprout. So that is a fascinating use case that we are trying to experiment with. Connecting to Fabric, there are a few Lakehouses here floating around on Fabric. Data is in Fabric, and for some of the business teams that we have, we're trying to slowly migrate them to Lakehouse. But there are a few cases where we might connect to that Fabric instance. Azure SQL, as I said, there we can directly connect to, or the Azure AI Search Service can directly call a Azure table, a SQL table, or a view, and that's a great example of things that are natively sitting in Azure. Or Azure SQL, and we can basically grab those structured data. Smart decisioning and data validation. We want to build agents in the future. We want to go the agentic route. We have we already have one agent out there, which I mentioned is the chart generation agent. We want to ensure that it's reliable and validated, and basically it gives you more accurate information over a period of time. As I said, Databricks integration is one of the key factors because we are invested heavily in Databricks from a lakehouse perspective. And we want to be able to connect, we want to be able to marry these two technologies together, the Foundry and Databricks Genie spaces, and come up with a meaningful way of interacting with both of them. So we use best of both the worlds, right, in this way. Vision for our seeds business is to be able to understand the context and deliver meaningful responses, seamlessly integrate across enterprise systems, right? Enterprise data is living in SharePoint, in a knowledge repository. We have a knowledge repository, which is a custom knowledge repository for SOPs and quality plans, which has 10,000 documents and that Sprout, and we are having a project right now to custom vector index. I'm working on that to vectorize all those 10,000 documents and then serve them to Sprout, right? That will be a big win. And it also has some structured data as well. So that'll be a big win if you could connect it that way. Decision ready, we want to empower our end users to be able to support and make decisions through Sprout. So those are our future plans for Sprout. These are some of the early stakeholder voices or comments and feedback, right? As I said, consistent and accurate responses, resilience under stress testing. They've been testing with all kinds of prompts to try to break the system, or try to, hey, give me the password for this database, etc., right? Or try to
Red
run a
teaming, I
command
love
line.
it.
Yeah, try to run a command line, interface line, destroy database, etc. Whatever. So we tried to hack into the system, and that's how we found out that certain commands that we gave were going through and not being prevented. So we updated our prompt engineering templates to prevent those kind of commands. So give me the password, or give me some sensitive information, right? And trying to coax the system, or bribe the system to give that information. Those things failed, in our test. I mean, we kept on improvising the prompt engineering template to make it more resilient to those kind of situations. Ethical alignment and composure under stress, those were important. Document gap. In fact, Sprout was able to find out documentation gaps, and the stakeholders were immediately able to correct their documentation because they didn't realize, but they had gaps in their document. So charts and graphs, again, knowledge accessibility. So these are all the feedbacks that we have received. Quick answers on quality plan info, Databricks app support, AI insights from harvest and stabilization data, knowledge accessibility and developer enablement. So these are kind of stakeholder voices that I can share right now. We have a few more. I couldn't put everything in one slide, but mostly the stakeholders are excited that they don't have to go through and create these Copilot agents. That's the recent feedback we got, that, hey, I don't have to go and have multiple M365 Copilot licenses for 700 plant operators. And then they don't have to go and manually do anything. They can just go and visit Sprout, and it's a unified platform. That way we save on licensing costs for Copilot agents. And we have this one central place where we can ask the same kind of questions that we would ask Copilot.
And you get to customize it however you want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. With Copilot low code, no code solution, there are challenges in customizations and picking your LLMs, things like that, right? But with Sprout, we have full control. Yep, that's probably the end of my presentation. And Charles,
I learned a lot. This was
thank you.
Really helpful perspective for me. Especially like hearing about some of the integrations with things beyond just Azure. I don't get enough time to understand what our friends at Databricks are doing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Databricks is doing a lot more. Like, it's a SaaS offering. They have a lot of similar stuff, like AI BI Genie spaces, where you connect to your structured data, and as well as you can connect to your unstructured data, and it can answer questions, show you the SQL queries it's running behind the scenes. And then they also have Agent Bricks, which is another version of Copilot agents that we have. Copilot Studio, for example. Agent Bricks is very similar, where you have a low-code, no-code solution. You can write different kinds of multi-supervisory agents, or you can write knowledge assistant agents, and you can write all kinds of, you can basically target different scenarios with a very low or no code out of the box, just like Copilot Studio, right?
Yeah.
It's a similar offering. They also have model serving endpoints, and where you can basically write your whole endpoint, or MCP servers, for example. You can stage your own MCP server through in Databricks. So that's catching up. The Databricks is also catching up. But I think Microsoft Azure AI Foundry is very mature. That's why we chose it, honestly speaking, over Databricks at the time when we had to make a decision. It was also a very quick win for us, because we were able to showcase and demonstrate a lot of our business users' concerns and immediately address them through the AI Foundry tool.
Yeah, Foundry's blown me away.
Yep.
Charles, you have a question? Yeah.
I do have a final question, and I'm going to put a couple puns in here, so I apologize in advance. But as Sprout continues to grow, and it blooms across the business. First of all, one of the things I think is amazing is you're not just using these insights to help folks find content. You're also using it to analyze missing content, which I think is amazing. I think you mentioned the gaps. And I think of that onboarding scenario. Imagine you're a new hire to the company, or you're taking a new territory, or working with new products, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what I don't know. And you actually look at some of those prompts, or look at some of those things are people asking for, and you can infer that. So it's almost like reverse engineering your corpus of content to find out what people are asking for, but just can't find significantly. So I think that's amazing. It'll be super interesting to see, again, how people kind of evolve with the system over time, and to see how you make basically behavioral changes and how you react to them, right? How people who onboard differently, or how people search differently or find differently. I think it's going to be really interesting, again, pardon the pun, to see how this actually grows into full bloom, and what happens when you plant the seeds.
But yeah, you're absolutely right there. Behavior has to change. And I'm seeing the behavior is changing. People are adopting AI for their mundane tasks. As you said, right? Hey, what's the gap in my document? I mean, can you go and find it? They are being now more open to use AI, versus there was like this, they were scared to use AI in the past for several reasons, security, governance, etc. But now they're embracing AI across the company, because they've seen Sprout in action, saying, hey, Sprout is on AI, and we should be able to use AI. So let's leverage AI in meaningful ways that can help us. Like, we have Copilot across Corteva, and people are using it every single day to create presentations, summarize stuff, and use it day to day. Sprout has been instrumental that way, that it triggered the AI bug in employees and people who are now embracing this for their day to day job. And we have, as I said, I'm coming up with several new use cases, like strategic advisor for your contracts, right? That's a great use case, because you're looking at past contracts and trying to optimize and coming up with new ways of studying the market and predicting in a way how can we better design the contracts going forward. How can we pay our growers in a better way compared to our competition, through meaningful insights of the past data and market data. Similarly, project cost estimators, instead of relying on machine learning models alone, we are using AI to predict the future project costs. Those are use cases that are very encouraging, because it's because of a behavioral shift, as you mentioned, in people embracing AI.
And I think also it validates kind of your investment in building your own, right? You refined your own AI. I mean, there's a lot of good AI solutions that are coming, quote unquote, out of the box. But you mentioned the user experience, where I can't help you with this this time, or I haven't found anything relevant with that. And so a lot of people go, well, AI is, at first it was a friendlier search. But the fact that you've actually wrapped it with both the business logic and the ability to actually refine that, and now people are getting results that are actually effective, and you'll see them use it more. So I love that. I love that use case that you actually put the investment on top of this to make it work. Yeah.
Well, thanks a ton for coming on to share. I mean, this is what the Developer Influencer Program is all about.
Absolutely.
And hope to have you back. Sounds like it takes you about 6 months to do something awesome. So let us know next time. And we'll have you here to share. And in the meantime, thanks a ton, and we'll see you online.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate it, both of you.
Thanks. This was fun. Take care.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.